list, carousel and suggestion. In this section, you will learn how to use the helpers that are available to us developers for creating a Google action like carousel, listings and suggestions. Carousel and listing. In this lecture, you will learn how to include carousels and listings into your Google actions. On creating a Google action, the main thing one must take care of is the structure or flow of the whole action. The action must be structured in such a way that the user must never feel lost during the conversation. Once you are done with that, you can still improve the action by adding helpers like carousel and listings. Carousel and listings are one very nice inclusion that one can add to their actions to make it look good to a great extent. When used at the right places, it increases the user satisfaction, which means everything to us developers. First, I will take you through lists and then we will look at the carousel. First, we will create an intent with an action name to invoke the list that we are going to make from our webhook. We will also create more intents to follow up with this, but we will do that later. Coming into the webhook, as usual, create a new function and map its name to the action name we have given on Dialogflow. Inside the function, we need to create a list. This can be done using the command askWithList. This askWithList function holds all the sum functions we will use further. The first parameter is a string, which will be the speech response that will be spoken out. In place of this string, you can even add a rich response function and from which you can send away a simple response string. Next comes the build list function. This is where the list creation starts. Inside this function, we need to pass a string which will be displayed as the main title of the whole list. Next, we can add items to the list using the add items function. Each item can have a title, a description and an image associated with it. All these can be executed using the nested function as shown. A quick tip: when you use images, don't give direct links from Google as it may change in the future. Download them and save it up in cloud storage. Generate a link and use that link. That's it. Our list is ready. We are halfway through. Let's go check our work. I have added 2 more list items with proper parameters. We can create up to 30 list items. Going to our action console and invocating, we can see our list up in the simulator. Now, as we haven't created any follow-ups for these options, once we click any option, the simulator is unable to understand. Let's go ahead and create our follow-up intent. Whenever an option from the list is clicked, the Dialogflow mapping will next move to the intent with a trigger setup in the name actions underscore intent underscore option. Go ahead and create an intent with the trigger string as action underscore intent underscore option. We will take care of the rest from our webhook. So just set an action name. Moving into our webhook, as usual, create and map a new function with the action name. Inside the function, the first thing we require is a way to find the option our user chose. This is where the key we previously set help us. Using the function getSelectedOption, we can get back the key of the option selected, using which one can proceed further in the conversation. Now using this string option, we will create an if-else conditional that directs the speech based on the option chosen. Our webhook is done with this. Let's deploy and check our work. As you can see, we are getting the response based on our chosen list item. Now we will move to creating the carousels for our application. One can list when they want users to choose from various items with some description. But in case, if you are going to showcase the image more, you can use carousels that scrolls horizontally. Without creating a separate intent for the carousel, we will create a carousel response to the list responses. Inside the if conditional, I will start creating my carousel. The only difference here is, instead of using the function ask with list, we need to use ask with carousel. And instead of using build list, we need to use build carousel. That's it. Just deploy and we can see our output. The final part is to set a follow-up for these carousel items. Again, once a user clicks on any of these items, our action will look for an intent with a trigger name actions underscore intent underscore option, which is the same as that of our list. Since we are using both in our action, we need to take the help of context to direct the flow of intents. Going into dialog flow, we will create a new intent with the trigger name as mentioned above. We want this intent only to invoke after the list follows the intent, that is, our carousel intent. Going inside that intent, set an output context. And set this as the input context for your carousel follow-up intent. Let's check this out. Now based on the context, we want our carousel follow-up intent when we click on any player cards in the carousel. There seems to be some error. Let's go to the debug tab. The list automatically sets an output context in the name of listings. We can stop this by making this context lifetime to 0 at the end of the listings follow-up intent. Now coming back to our action simulator, let's check it out. It works as expected. This debug tab here is a lifesaver. Do check this out when you run into errors. Summary. In this lecture, we learned how to include carousel and listing into our responses of our Google Actions. We also learned how to move from carousels to listings internally. In the next lecture, you will learn to use a very useful functionality of Google Assistant, suggestions.